Okay, flight simmers, we're going to be doing a flight tonight on the King Air 350. We're going to fly to Bangkok. So we're going to use the world map. And there's the King Air, and I've got it set for daylight conditions. So there's our time. Let's pick our departure. Maybe head out from this airport here. Let's see, that's pretty small. Maybe grab one up here. Right, let's see. What do we got here? Okay. Well, there's a pretty good spot right there. Alright, let's see if we can take off from this VTY5. That is departure. The Beechcraft King Air has a lot of power, so we should be able to take off on a shorter runway like this. We'll give it a try, see what happens. And now we're going to go up to Bangkok here, select it as our arrival, select low altitude airways, and approach. We'll go with runway number 101. So we'll be flying up here. Now there's our waypoints. If we look at our nav log, we can see we're going to be flying at about 7,400 feet. When we approach, we're going to be 3,000, 2,500, and 2,000. We're going to do an ILS landing, pick up a glide slope, and we'll see how that works. This is a great plane to fly. It's probably my favorite plane because it's got some powerful thrusts, doesn't seem to struggle in the air, and everything seems to work really well on this plane. In the Microsoft Flight Simulator. So we're just loading everything up right now. Take a look inside the plane and outside for you. So this is a basic tutorial for just the game of Microsoft Flight Simulator. Doesn't go into the detail you'd need for actually flying this plane in the real world. Okay, so that runway looks pretty good. Not too long, but I think it'll do. So first things first, let's make sure our throttle's down, and then we'll shut off the parking brake. Just going to toggle off that, and there's the parking brake there. So shut that off so we can get up in the air when we're ready to go. The other thing I want to do is, this is a touch screen here. So if I press Control 1 on the keyboard, here we go, I can see this is on GPS. So you don't want that on VOR, you want it on GPS. Used to be Flight Management System, but now this is the 40th edition of Microsoft Flight Simulator, and on this plane now it shows GPS as your setting for these ILS. So there's GPS, there's the direction we got to go. So let's just touch the center screen again, do split, and now let's go to, this is on map now, let's go to flight plan. And here we have some selections. We can see our active flight plan, our procedures, we can go back to the map, our comm frequencies, and our nav 1 and nav 2. So nav 1, the frequency for runway number 1 left is 109.10 megahertz, and I'll show you where I got that. If you go to flightplandatabase.com on Google, you'll bring up this page. You press on Tools and you enter the airport code, which is Victor Tango Bravo Sierra. You see, that's Bangkok. Search. And now for runway 1, the frequency is 109.10. So that's how we know what the correct frequency is for that runway. So Microsoft Flight Simulator will automatically calculate things and fill in things like your ILS frequency. However, it's not always what it should be. So let's just go back and look and see. Okay, the frequency currently active is 110.50, which is not the right frequency. So to change that, all we have to do is go 109.10, which is what we looked up. And if we hit transfer, it's now the new active frequency. So that's great. We just hit here and full screen and split, and now we're back to having the map. I just have to get back here. There we go. So sometimes you have to go back and forth a bit, hit the center button, and now we have the map. So we're good for go. So there's our flight plan. Let's, you know, some of these other functions for startup, and some of them are inoperative. They're just there for authenticity, to show what the plane actually looks like inside, and some of them you can actually turn on and off. So everything's been started up for us because we're taking off from the runway. So I'm not going to bore you with a lot of the other stuff. This is just a basic instruction on how to fly the plane, really easy. Here's your gear, and I'll show you the ones we will be using. If we go up here, Control 2 on the keyboard will bring up this. So here's our flight director, autopilot, yaw damper, altitude, approach, heading, nav, FLC mode. We won't be using that. This is vertical speed, up and down, vertical nav. We won't be using that, not required. And this is the flight director. So here's our barometric pressure. If you press B on your keyboard, it'll automatically adjust that, and it did move. So if you're flying in real weather, sometimes you'll get different barometric pressures, and if you press B on your keyboard or scroll with this, you can set it. Alrighty, I think that's pretty much it. I'm just going to go back here, look at this primary screen, and here's the map screen here. We're going to go outside and look at the plane. So I think we took the parking brake off, so we're going to accelerate. We got the flaps down 20, and we're going to take off. You hear that little sort of noise of the tires screeching a little bit on the runway. That's a good indication you've reached the speed where you want to lift off. So we're going to bring up the gear by pressing G on the keyboard, and I am using the Logitech
Bangkok
joystick.
Center Alaska Airlines 107 is passing 600 feet, climbing 7,000 feet.
Alaska Airlines 107 Bangkok Center altimeter 29.902, continue to Romeo Yankee November as planned. Alaska Airlines 107 climb and maintain 16,000 feet.
16,000 feet,
Climb
wow.
and maintain 16,000 feet, Alaska Airlines 107.
Okay, so I've got the Logitech joystick, so buttons programmed on this for the flaps, the trim, and other functions like autopilot, spoilers, auto thrust, approach, etc. So I'm going to bring up the flaps, which I just did there. Level off, go inside, and press Control 2 and I'm going to turn on the autopilot, the yaw damper. I'm going to hit vertical speed up, and I have to set the altitude here. So we want to get it up initially to a certain amount so we can start climbing. So we're going up. This is on. Oh, it should be on. It wasn't on. Okay. Once you play with this, it shuts it off. So we get the autopilot on. We want to put nav on. And flight director is on. Okay, so let's see if we're following. This plane is turning. And we are climbing, so we're doing good. Let's just take a look at their altitude again. I'm going to press a button on my joystick. Now you can program your Xbox controller with its buttons to do things like this. So I'm going to look at 16,000 feet is what they said. So let's set this to 16,000 feet. Make sure that's still on. 16,000. For such a short flight is pretty high. So I got to make sure the nav is on, the autopilot, yaw damper, and let's just take a look at things. So we can back off here. Okay, you can see the plane took off and now it's circling around to try and pick up the flight plan. And it is doing it, and it's climbing. So that's one of the things I like about this plane. Like, it has enough power that if you got to get up to altitudes like this, it can do it fairly quickly. So they said 16,000 feet. So let's go to 16,000. See right here, as when I scroll on this, that number is going up or down. So here we have, we're on GPS, autopilot, yaw damper, vertical speed to achieve our altitude, 800 feet per minute. We'll get there. Let's just look outside. A few hills or low-lying mountains up ahead, so that's probably why the altitude. Now, you want to make sure you don't get into the red here. So here's a setting you can do, so you can have these different information on your screen outside. So you can have your airspeed, your engines 1 and 2, your fuel, your angle of attack, your flaps, your trim, your altitude, vertical speed, and your compass here, all duplicating what you have inside the aircraft. So you can go outside and still see all these things, which is kind of nice, because that gives you a chance to get outside and enjoy the scenery and still be able to monitor your instruments, which is very important. So there's the plane, and the landing gear up, you can see. Our flaps are in good shape. They're up. So everything's working fine. And try and keep your speed below 250, or right in that area there. And you won't get any warnings inside the aircraft. So that aircraft now is automatically adjusting its flight to follow the flight plan. We're hitting our waypoints here, and then it's moving on. So if we look and zoom in here, we can see this is our next waypoint. Dalny. There's the bearing. That's the distance. And it's going to take us 10 minutes to get there. Our ground speed. And there's our actual bearing that we're tracking. You can see here our angle of attack just above the horizon. Transponders on. There's our audio COM 1 frequency. So that's being controlled by the first officer, co-pilot. In your settings, you can have them look after the comm frequencies and setting them. Now you can do it yourself if you want, but it's just one extra thing to do, especially when you're learning. It's a little bit more of a challenge. So just to simplify it, I have that assigned to the co-pilot. So we can look around the aircraft a little bit here. Control 1's the screen, Control 2 will give you a barrel, Control 3 is that map screen, Control 4, these different functions here for starting and turning on the aircraft. Some of them are optive. There's your landing gear, your throttle. So let's go Control 5. Okay, we got our throttle, our fuel, engine condition. What else? Reverse here. Pitch. There's pitch trim. So down here somewhere was our, I think it was over here this way. Yeah, there. That's our parking brake. Okay, let's go Control 6. Okay, so here's some information that we can use to set our own departure and create flight plan, flight management system. A lot of this stuff's inoperative here now because we're using it on the touch screen up above, but in the real world you'd probably be able to use this to, you know, create a flight plan, etc. Fly direct to. Let's do Control 8. That's overhead. So here we have our avionics brightness. So if it's at night and it's dark, you're going to want to turn this up, like your overhead floodlight. The avionics brightness, the instrument panel brightness, but master panel lights. Okay, we're going to go back down here and have a look out the window. We're pitched up slightly. So we're getting up there on our altitude. Let's just scroll out here and see how far we have to go. Okay, we're getting fairly close here. Nice thing is you can use your right and leftmost button for different functions. If you use your leftmost button and touch that screen, you can kind of drag it around. So we're not too far from this waypoint, 5 minutes to go. So when we get there, this aircraft should turn and follow this flight plan. Let's see what happens. Just going to go outside for a minute so you can see the beautiful King Air 350. Really a beautiful plane. I love these little intakes here under the propellers. Beautifully designed, a nice little flare up at the tip of the wings to assist in the way the airplane wings are designed to handle the wind blowing over them. Look at the bottom. So, pretty nicely rendered. Now you can put your own tail number on there, whatever you want to say. So I put Alaska Air on there. You can put your name on if you want. In the settings, you can name your flight, number. That's what they're calling out to us. When you put that in, they're calling out Alaska Air right now, and we're calling our flight number. So let's go inside again. That's basically what you need to know to fly this aircraft. Now you're going to get to see what happens when we do a landing. So we are only 3 minutes away from turning and doing our approach. Now we're on GPS right now, but it should automatically pick up the frequency because we entered it at the beginning of the flight, 109.10 megahertz, and it should switch to localizer 1 when it picks up that frequency, and that should happen around here somewhere. And once that happens and we get close enough, look around right here, which is BS 488 waypoint, we can put down the landing gear, flaps, and hit approach hold. Now we have to be at 3,000 here. They're going to tell us that. And here we have to be, I think it was 2,000. And if you want to double check that, you just click on flight plan, active flight plan.
Alaska Airlines 107, contact Bangkok Center on 120.5.
Okay, so
Good
there
day.
you go. Okay, this is
Going to 120.5
3,000.
Alaska Airlines 107.
Lonnie
Bangkok
is
Center Alaska Airlines
2,500.
107 is at 12,900
And
feet, climbing
BS
16,000 feet.
488 is
Alaska
2,000.
Airlines 107, Bangkok Center altimeter 29.902, continue as planned.
So we're going to have to go to
Alaska Airlines
3,000.
107, descent and maintain 6,000 feet.
They want us to go to
Descend
6,000
and maintain
right now.
6,000 feet. Alaska Airlines 107.
So let's go to 6,000. Now to do that, I'm scrolling down on the altitude. Bingo. Vertical speed down, and there's the amount of descent rate. I'm going to set it at 1,800. Let's go outside and have a look. You see we're going down about 1,800 feet
Alaska
per
Airlines
minute.
107, you are 39 miles southeast. Descent and maintain 3,200 feet. Keep speed not above 220 knots. Expect ILS Zulu runway 01 left approach via Lacoste transition. Cleared to Lacoste. Alaska Airlines 107, descent and maintain 3,000 feet. Keep speed not above 220 knots.
So they want us going down
Descend
to
and maintain
3,000.
3,000 feet. Keep speed not above 220 knots. Expect
So,
ILS
set it
Zulu
at
runway
3,000
01
now.
left approach via Lacoste transition. Cleared to Lacoste. Alaska Airlines 107.
So we're clear to Lacoste. And okay, just watch your speed here. You don't want to get going too fast. The aircraft isn't designed, and also sometimes it's just the aviation rules. You can only fly a certain speed at certain altitudes. So I just cut back my speed there. We're descending, so obviously you pick up your airspeed. So that's what you got to watch. So we're getting down. We've got plenty of time to get to Lacoste. We've got 6 minutes, and we have to be at 3,000. So just make sure your vertical speed thing's still on, flight director's on, nav is on. Doesn't hurt to check. Heading's not on unless you're actually activating it. Now your altitude is off right now.
Alaska Airlines 007 contact approach on 121.1. Good day.
Pilot's on.
121.1
can
Alaska
see
Airlines
it here in the
107.
screen as well.
Approach Alaska Airlines 107 is passing 9,400 feet, descending 3,000 feet. Alaska Airlines 107, approach altimeter 29.9.
Yeah, I'm watching the speed here because we're still descending at a pretty good rate here. So I don't want to go too fast. That's pretty good speed though right now, 241 knots. You can see here we're right on track. We're following the flight plan perfectly, so everything's going well right now. Once I get to 3,000, I'm going to set to 2,500 because that's the next thing they're going to ask us to go to, and we know we need to be at that for Lonnie. So if you think you're not going to make it to that altitude in time, you can increase your rate of descent by just scrolling a little more up or down to set this number here. But I think we're going to be okay here. If not, I'll pick it up. I'm getting up there in speed though. I'm going to cut back the throttle a bit. We've got 4 minutes to get to this next waypoint, so we should be okay. I am going to increase a little bit our descent. So I'm going to have to cut the speed back just a bit on the throttle so I don't get into overspeed. So we're descending now at 2,200 feet per minute. You can see that we've drifted off a little bit here. And that could be because the plane is adjusting itself to make this turn. We'll see. But you want to keep an eye on this. If it gets out of whack, we might have to turn on the heading and actually change the direction that the plane is going using this heading knob just to get it back on track. But I think everything's okay here. When we'll know is when it gets up to Lake Host and it starts to turn. If it keeps going, we'll know something's wrong. But right now it's showing that it's operating fine on GPS, autopilot, yaw damper, altitude, set at 3,000, so everything looks fine. And here we come up to 3,000. This should be off. It is. So now we're able to adjust our next altitude to 2,500, but I'm not going to hit that yet. I'm going to wait until we make the turn here. See, the plane's back on track again, so it drifted off a little bit there. Yeah, maybe just to assist the turn at the speed I was going at. So we're at 192 right now. And that's not bad. We'll just leave it at that because we're going to be going too fast. We're going to make a sharp turn shortly. Okay, I'm just going to go outside and let you have a look. Alrighty. Just back off. There's the land in the background. Just flew over a little island there. An island. And now we are coming up to Bangkok. And we are going to spend one night in Bangkok. And the world's your oyster. Anyone knows the name of that song? Who sang it? Put it in the comments down below. Yeah, we're just flying some chess players into Bangkok right now for a big tournament. Yeah, I gotta say, you know, I like the Airbus 320neo. The 747's fun to fly. The Cessnas, but I kind of think this is my favorite. I like the CJ4 jet. But this thing just seems to really do well, perform well. I think they really spent some time on getting this one right. It's a beautiful plane. It's not cheap, I can tell you. I think it runs around $8 million or something crazy. Price of a jet, but it's such a beautiful plane and so well made that it's going to be expensive. Okay, how are we looking here? Okay, we're doing good. Okay, so we should be hearing to descend very shortly to 2,500. I'm going to zoom in here. Give you a better idea. So I'm dragging, zooming. When we get here, they're going to want us going to Lonnie at 2,500.
Alaska Airlines 107 descend and maintain 2,500 feet.
So
Descend
we
and
already
maintain
got it.
2,500 feet. Alaska Airlines 107.
Yeah, confirming that. I just have to hit vertical speed and down. Yeah, we'll get there pretty quickly because we're already at 3,000. And then, of course, from Lonnie, 2,500 and BS, Bravo Sierra 488, 2,000. So, is this off yet? Yeah, it's off. So once that's off, you can set a new altitude. So I'm going to set 2,000. Now they may not ask us to go to 2,000, but I'm going to do it anyway because we're taking over now, and we're going to put approach hold on shortly. Now, what's our speed? Okay, so I'm just going to cut back a little bit. We're going to put the landing gear down, slow the plane down, extra drag. Yeah, it's really pretty the way that works. I'm going to put down the flaps, and automatically the plane reacts to that. And we're slowing down. So I am now going to go vertical speed down, get down to 2,200, and now is when we should be seeing the localizer show up here.
Alaska Airlines 107, you are 15 miles south of Victor Tango Bravo Sierra. Contact tower on 118.2 when inbound. Tower on 118.2 Alaska Airlines 107. Tower Alaska Airlines 107 14 miles south inbound ILS Zulu runway 01 left approach. Alaska Airlines 107 tower. Altimeter 29.902 wind calm cleared ILS Zulu runway 01 left approach. Cleared ILS Zulu runway 01 left approach Alaska Airlines 107.
Okay, so it switched to localizer 1 because it picked up the frequency that we set. Now I'm going to hit approach. So that's on. You see this is in white, GS, glide slope. It's going to try and pick up the glide slope. We're at the right altitude, so it should work nicely. And we're on the localizer, so let's go outside and have a look. As soon as you see this start to plunge, this altitude, you'll know you'll see it right away. It'll just start to drop. And inside it'll go green. This will turn green. So we're getting close. So you want to make sure your autopilot's on, approach is on, your nav goes off when you put the approach on. So very shortly this should turn green. This little arrow should come down, or diamond I should say. That should turn green. So we're getting close. That's the airport up there. So we're hitting another waypoint here. Looks like 11. Well, the good thing is we're right on line for the runway, so that's nice to see. That gives you some comfort in your instrument reading. Oh, it just started dropping there, see that? Plunging on the glide slope. So that's turning green. This little diamond came down and bang on.
Cleared to land runway 01 left Alaska Airlines 107.
So you want to watch your speed, and just cut it back. You want to land at about 104 knots with this plane. Yeah, it's a beautiful day in Bangkok. I'm going to let you see this plane land from the front, and we'll do inside and out. So you can see we're going to have the nose up just slightly, and we're going to cut our speed back to about 104 knots. So we are at 1,000 feet right now. Just check your barometric pressure again. Just press B on your keyboard. Make sure that it's 299 or 2. Okay, so it's a little bit of wind here. Plane is buffeting a bit. Let's go have a look at it coming in. So we get the flaps down 20. We're 700 now. 500 shortly. There we go. It'll be better looking from the inside. So once again, everything's fine. You can see everything looks good here. So we can trust our instruments. You can take the autopilot off just before you land. There is a reverse thrust on this plane. You can hit on your keyboard, or you can hit it on your joystick, but this plane stops really quickly anyway with just using the brake. Probably don't really need to use reverse thrust, but you can if you want to. You'll really stop short if you do, and then you'll have to turn it off and put the throttle down and back again. So you can see we're at 104. Let's go outside and watch it land. So just shut the autopilot off just before you land. You can land it manually when you get that close. So once this lands, I'm going to go inside so you can see the runway. Okay, gently down, nose up slightly, touchdown, brake. There we go. Okay, so the autopilot's on.
Airlines 107, turn next taxiway.
Turn next taxiway. Alrighty, get your flaps up. So you see what I mean? I didn't use the reverse thrust there, and you can use a brake. it'll stop quite nicely. So the next chance I get, I'm going to get off here, right up here. See what happens. Get off before somebody comes in and lands on top of us. There are little glitches in the system here. You will have sometimes planes come right in and be on the runway when you're trying to land, or sometimes they ask you to go around, or they just land right on top of you. Yeah, so here we go. So now we're going to stop.
Alaska Airlines 107, contact ground on 121.75.
So you can put the parking brake on here for a second if you want,
Airlines 107.
or just bring it to a complete stop. So I am going to go air traffic control, tune the ground. You see what I mean? It's starting to roll there. You don't have the parking brake on. I'm going to request taxi to the gates.
Ground Alaska Airlines 107, request taxi to the gate.
Alaska Airlines 107, taxi to gate 35 using taxiway Echo 12 Echo Delta 7 Delta Tango 14.
Taxiing to gate 35 via taxiway Echo 12 Echo Delta 7 Delta Tango 14, Alaska Airlines 107.
Yeah, you're not really allowed to go too fast when you're taxiing here. And put your taxi lights on too. I'm just going to stop for a second. A lot of this stuff is inactive. There, taxi lights. Okay, so here's where we have to go. Make the turn. Okay, there might be somebody here directing us. Now, because we have a small aircraft, there won't be any gateway connection. Like right up there, there's a gateway. If we were in the Airbus, well, you come in here and that jetway automatically comes over. You don't have to ask for it anymore like you used to. It'll just happen. Okay, we're good. So I'm just going to put on the parking brake. You can press Control Delete on your keyboard. That'll set the parking brake, and you'll automatically get this little warning. So let's just go outside. Now I'm going to show you a little bit of the ground services. Ground services, like I don't know if you can get some of this stuff. Request, okay. Taxi, okay, let's just have a look. So there are no ground services. Because of this small plane, we can't get power, catering, or anything. But that would all show up if you could. So thank you very much for joining me on this flight to Bangkok.